So where do I think all this stuff is going? I've just put up the 7 wastes here. So people who are very familiar with lean will recognise these 7 wastes. I wish I had the time to go through them all with you, because they're honestly a genius mental checklist for any kind of improvement person to have in their head at all times. And then what happens, it can be deeply frustrating, by the way, is when you start interacting with products and services, you can start to see all of these wastes in front of your eyes. So, you know, sometimes going to get a coffee can be deeply frustrating because you realise they've balanced the line incorrectly and there's too big a queue. And what you want to do is you want to start looking at the world and trying to spot all of these problems, and then the lean energy inside you wants to then do something about them. So I think a big movement within lean is this around visibility, which I talked about earlier. So nationwide, we're making their processes very visible from an internal and a customer perspective. And a key way that we do that is through the use of automation and machines. And I think, you know, everyone's having fights in these different improvement methodologies. Lean was very suspicious of IT technological change, partly because we'd actually looked at processes and a lot of the waste had been built in by poorly designed IT systems. But actually, if you think about Toyota, where they actually created their step change in innovation was from the use of intelligent machines within their production line. They called it Jidoka, which kind of loosely translates as intelligent automation or automation with a human touch. We need to get back to building automation with this sense-making human element, and we're starting to see it everywhere. So in text messages as you move along your mortgage process to, you know, catering. The other day I went into McDonald's. I don't usually go into McDonald's, but I did go in this time. And, you know, I was amazed at how many machines there were doing your ordering. You go up to that machine, you can then input everything that you want. It limits the amount of defects, actually, because you can see exactly what you've ordered in front of you. There's no mistakes, no mishearing. And actually, you're reducing the amount of inventory queues because machines are having that interface for you. Same thing with Just Eat, online ordering, takeaways, if anyone's used it. Very impressive, very simple. Shows you that visibility along the whole way. You know, yeah, we've got your order, this is when it's going to be delivered, and then hopefully it will be delivered at that time frame. So key trends within lean innovation are definitely around automation, self-service options, and increasing the visibility of processes for both the staff working in organisations and the customer itself. A customer that's informed feels in control, they feel empowered, and it saves the organisation work because they're not contacting you asking for things all the time. And just I think you can use these 7 wastes to predict innovation paths. So a little bit more about me. Driving licences. One of the first jobs I had, summer sort of job, was in the DVLA in Lanishan, and I was on like a little station, and it was my job to process all the forms that came in the DVLA and then type out the tax discs. It was probably the lowest paid job in the whole organisation, but I actually dealt with the most amount of money, and then I had to make sure the books balanced at the end of the day. But what happened, so all the different car dealers would be coming into bored out of their mind into Lanishan with, I don't know, about 200 sometimes car registrations if it was in the month of August. Massive queues, huge possibility for defects, so we're increasing our inventory and defects waste there. And they said, you know, rightly, well, actually, can we get garages to do this themselves? We'll give garages the opportunity to issue their own tax discs for cars that they're doing. So you can see there, my job suddenly became a bit redundant, to be honest. Good job, I'd gone to university by then. Yeah, my job became redundant, and garages were now doing a lot of this work, limiting the amount of transportation that those people had to do. They no longer had to go to Lanishan to queue up to get their tax discs for all the vehicle sales that they'd done that month. Then what happens? Well, we get online tax discs. Now individuals can start to generate that process. They don't have to go to a post office anymore. They don't have to go to a DVLA office anymore. They've shut a lot of the DVLA offices because now they're giving people that self-serve opportunity to do it themselves. And actually, if you think about it from a waste perspective, the tax disc itself is redundant. It's a piece of paper. Actually, what's value from the customer's perspective, the Inland Revenue or whoever's collecting all this money or the government, is just that you've paid and that they can go into a computer database and tell that you've paid. So I actually think, going back to these 7 wastes, innovation occurs as we try and develop our processes and services to overcome all of these pointless, non-added value activities that congest our processes and systems. And often we use technology, intelligent automation or Jidoka, to overcome some of these wastes. So in terms of other trends that I'm seeing in Lean, it can be a bit, when you love Lean so much, it can be a bit worrying when new things occur or when Tesco's being lambasted in the news and you think, oh no. Because Tesco's were a massive Lean company and they worked with Dan Jones in the 1990s actually looking at Lean in their supply chain. Things like the club card was all around customer value. Suddenly they're able to tap into your mind and know what you wanted as a customer. But yeah, where I'm seeing operations management or Lean, if you want to call it, that, going is around looser structures, but much more aligned individuals and employees. So Christine mentioned that strategy deployment was a key part of a Lean transformation. Really impressive. Just type Google OKR into Google and they're pretty open about how they've organised every member of staff to be aligned to the strategic direction of the company. And we'd call it Hoshin Kanri or policy deployment, strategy deployment. It's actually a way of gearing every employee with the ability to be totally tied into that company's strategy, but at the same time giving them the flexibility they need to innovate. So you've got companies, again, like Valve, a game design company. Again, Google, Valve, company handbook, and they'll share their approach to how they organise their operations. There's a lot of Lean in it, actually, about giving people the opportunity to experiment. And as long as you're of the right mentality to be a Valve employee, you know what Valve wants to achieve, they'll actually give you quite a lot of freedom and creativity to try and experiment and to develop new exciting things. Same with Netflix. Google Netflix culture presentation, and it's a really big presentation. They go through all the different ways that they're trying to create very innovative culture, but that people are very aligned to what Netflix is about and what they need to achieve as a company. And it's all around valuing their key values, freedom and responsibility, highly aligned, loosely coupled, and it's about recruiting the best, actually. So what I'm seeing, whereas Lean can be quite disciplined and quite structured, in high-tech companies we're now seeing that actually as long as you've got a clear communication about what your company's about and you're hiring the right people, you can allow them some freedom and some time to actually try new things. So I think it's a really interesting area to see how Lean's going to cope with those sort of new trends within particularly high-tech organisations. So that's it from us, I think.